He's gonna come sit by him.
That's crazy.
Try to pet him.
No, no, that motherfucker got the big ass dick on him.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
I see you driving round town with a girl I love, and I'm like, fuck you. I guess the change in my pocket, it wasn't enough. I'm like, fuck you, and I fuck her too. Said if I was richer, I'd still be with ya. Huh, no, ain't that some shit? And although there's pain in my chest, I still wish you the best with a fuck you.
Modern Rome, a city where loads of people still come to catch a glimpse of a lost world. And one Roman stars in more selfies than any other. Julius Caesar. He is perhaps the most famous ancient Roman of them all. When his name is mentioned, we think of power, victory, and betrayal. Julius Caesar changed his own world in unimaginable ways, and he's left a pretty big mark on ours. Julius Caesar, so the story goes, was born by C-section. The C in C-section is actually short for Caesarean. Deadly is right. In less than 5 years, Caesar and his men had marched and fought their way some 1,500 kilometres to grey northern Gaul. We know about this campaign in minute detail because in one of the most amazing survivals from the ancient world, we still have Caesar's own step-by-step account. And one description above all underlines the brutality and the obedience of his men as they fought a battle against native tribes. Caesar describes this battle in detail. He talks about his own lightning speed and how he met the enemy ad confluentem, at the confluence of two rivers. He hemmed them in so that they despaired of being able to flee away. Fuga desperata. And a large number of them, magno numero, were killed. The rest threw themselves in flumen into the river. Goes on to say that this tribe had once numbered over 400,000 people, and he implies that there were not very many left. Archaeologist Nico Roymans has identified the location of the battle and its grisly legacy.
Caesar describes a dramatic massacre here taking place in 55 BC. And we indeed have this kind of archaeological material in huge quantities.
You can really see just how deadly Caesar's campaigns were when you look at the finds that you've got here.
It's a human skull of an adult male, about 60.
This man has actually had his face cut off with a sword.
With a single sword blow. This is part of a female skull, and there is a hole here above one of the eyes caused by a spearhead or a sword point.
Something is always happening. But when it happens, people don't always see it, or understand it, or accept it.
He had an affair with Cleopatra long before her dalliance with Mark Antony. It wasn't long before Caesar decided that a year perhaps wasn't a long enough term as dictator. Perhaps 10 years would be better. And with that kind of time span, he began to think bigger. What strikes me is how Caesar's virtues came to reinforce his power. One of the qualities he always boasted about was his mercy or clemency. He had a history of surprising acts of kindness. There's more to that than meets the eye. As with defeated enemies in the Civil War, they must have expected that they'd be strung up in the Forum. Instead, they found themselves publicly pardoned in what was almost a general amnesty. But of course, that kind of mercy is always authoritarian. It's only the powerful who could issue pardons. But more to the point, it tells us something about Caesar himself. Not that he was kind, but that he was colossally self-confident. I think that not many people know that our month of July takes its name from Julius Caesar. The Romans decided to rename the month that had been called by sexy Quintus as Julius or July, so it's ever since. That is as nothing to Caesar's real legacy. Caesar ruled the calendar year with only 55 days. Wasn't actually normal, so it would be easy to add another month in. The problem was, it's in the calculation, so the month of got completely sync with the natural seasons. What I mean is that it would be what you thought was September and you'd want to celebrate your harvest festival, but the vines would only just be coming into leaf. Or it would be in the middle of apparently wintry December and there'd be bunches of grapes all over the place. Caesar sold. Plug the system launched the 365-day year that was in all kinds of ways. It was really useful and practical for the man teaching time. And it was celebrations to reflect his status. This is a version about 50% shows that preoccupied later ages too with the image of Julius. What you got here is Julius Caesar spinning a bit on the top, sitting on his chariot, Caesar on the chariot, and this slave standing behind him who's about to crown him with a laurel wreath. Now, we know from Roman writers that what this slave did throughout the procession, for every victory parade, was he whispered into the ear of the general all the time, "Remember you're a man, remember you're a man, remember you're a man." The idea was that anybody who had this kind of lavish ceremonial would be very likely to forget that they were just an ordinary human being. So this, in a way, is a reminder to Julius Caesar not to get above himself. All the same, Caesar was aware of the popular power of a good military parade, something later leaders have been quick to adopt. Even in the democratic West, displays of military might have long been part of our national tradition, from Trooping the Colour to Bastille Day. Caesar's power over Rome by now seemed almost absolute. His military image only strengthened his popular appeal. He was central to almost every aspect of Roman life. Statues put up later would emphasise this power and authority, like this one, still standing in Rome's City Hall. But it's what's written underneath in this modern inscription that's even more to the point, because it gives Caesar his official title, Dictator Perpetuus. He's dictator forever. Now, the Romans wouldn't have found the word dictator remotely shocking. It was a title given to an entirely traditional short-term office that was used for coping with particular emergencies. What they would have found shocking is the idea that Caesar took that power forever. It's a bit like how we would feel about someone being elected Prime Minister for life. And it's in that way that Caesar has given us the modern sense of the word dictator. What happened is that Caesar made sure that his term as dictator was extended, not just from 1 year to 10 years, but to forever. Guilty! The dictatorship was only one way in which Caesar disrupted Roman politics. Once, he gave a free feast to the Roman people with some frightfully posh fish on the menu, all laid out on 22,000 tables. It must have made the Forum feel like it was a vast free outdoor restaurant, all courtesy of Julius Caesar. The Forum was also the place where Rome put itself on display. It was here that big Roman funerals happened. In fact, Caesar was cremated just over there.
En primer lugar, le entonó un himno como a un dios celestial y levantó hacia arriba las manos para testificar su linaje divino.
Interludus cantata sunt quedam ad miseratione tinguidiam cedis eius accommodata. Ec pacuvi armorium judicio, men servasse ut est in qui me perdere, et ex electra cilia simile sententia. Laudationis loco ein Jesuitenpater hat mir gesagt, macht ruhig diese Rekonstruktion. Und das ist nur eine Rekonstruktion, aber du wirst sehen, das bekommt einen liturgischen Charakter.
Querían unos que se le quemara el cadáver en el templo de Júpiter Capitolino, otros en el salón de actos de Pompeyo, cuando de súbito dos desconocidos, espada al cinto y blandiendo sendos pares de dardos, se aproximaron al pie del catafalco y le prendieron fuego con hachas de cera ardiendo.
Pero cuando la iglesia oriental prende la pira, todos dicen Christus anesti. ¿Qué quiere decir? Ha resucitado en ese momento.
Sí. En el momento en cui la antorcha...
La antorcha se prendía.
Sí, se prendía, era el momento de la resurrección.
Resurrección.
The version that we have of Caesar's assassination makes it a heroic and successful fight for freedom against tyranny. In reality, it was nothing of the sort. For a start, if it was freedom for anyone, it was for a few privileged politicians. Ordinary Romans wept at Caesar's death. But you also can't really call it successful. The problem of assassinations, always, is that it's easy enough to take the guy out. It's a lot harder to know what to do next. Assassins always risk bringing about the very thing they thought they were fighting against. In this case, once the deed was done, the conspirators turned out to have no forward plan. What they got was civil war.
What I'm interested in is that people come and they still leave these offerings. This is where Julius Caesar was cremated. So what there is around here is the temple of Julius Caesar they put up after his death. And so you've got flowers and occasional all these coins.
Caesar would, forever after, be celebrated as the originator of the imperial dynasty. All later emperors took his name. From that moment on, Caesar wasn't just a surname anymore, it became synonymous with leader. And not only in Roman times, the terms Tsar and Kaiser go back to, you've guessed it, Caesar. And leaders ever since have done more than just take his name. For good or bad, they have used the template he created to ground their own rule, even now. And more than 2,000 years after his bloody assassination, Julius Caesar is still with us in all kinds of surprising ways. So every time you put your hand in your pocket for some loose change, or have a party in July, each time you consult the calendar or hear a snappy political slogan, when you next think about a Caesarean section or hear a political betrayal described as backstabbing, spare a thought for the man who inspired all this and more. I've always been a bit allergic to the idea of Julius Caesar, the great conqueror. But if you have to choose just one Roman who's still absolutely embedded in the way we think, talk, act, and judge, then it's got to be Gaius Julius Caesar, Dictator Perpetuus.
I see you driving round town with a girl I love, and I'm like,